There's a specific person who makes your skin crawl. You know the one. Maybe it's the guy who won't stop posting screenshots of his revenue, or the girl who talks over everyone in the group chat, or the friend who quit 3 businesses and blames the algorithm every time. Your reaction to them feels like clean, obvious judgment. It isn't. That heat you feel is a flashlight, and it's pointed at a part of you that you've spent years pretending isn't there. Here's what I want to do with the next 10 minutes. I want to take the people you can't stand and turn them into the most accurate map of yourself you've ever seen. By the end, you'll have a tool you can use the next time someone irritates you for no good reason. Start with the strange part. There are billions of people doing annoying things at any given moment, and almost none of them register. Someone brags, you scroll past. Someone flakes, you shrug. So why does this one specific trait in this one specific person light you up like a struck match? Because recognition burns hotter than observation. The things that genuinely disgust you aren't random. They're targeted. They tend to be the exact tendencies you've worked hardest to bury in yourself. The ones you decided somewhere along the way were not allowed to be you. When you see someone wearing that trait out loud, with no shame, no leash, it threatens the whole story you've built about who you are. So your brain does something fast and quiet. It calls the trait theirs. Disgust is how you keep it at arm's length. Carl Jung had a name for the part of you that gets exiled this way. He called it the shadow. Everything about yourself you've judged as unacceptable and pushed out of sight. And he noticed something the rest of us miss. The shadow doesn't disappear when you bury it. It waits, and then it shows up projected onto the faces of the people around you. Think about the trait that annoys you most in others. Sit with which one it actually is. The person who needs to be the center of attention? The one who's obsessed with money? The one who never finishes anything? Now ask the question nobody wants to ask. Where does that live in me? This is the part where most people pull the ripcord. I hate arrogance, so obviously I'm humble. Feels airtight. It's backwards. The traits you've fully integrated, the ones you've made peace with, don't trigger you. A genuinely confident person watches a loudmouth and feels mild amusement. The one who explodes with contempt is usually the one strangling their own desire to be seen. Your loudest judgments are a confession with the name swapped. Let me make this concrete, because abstract psychology is easy to nod at and ignore. You're building something on your own. No boss, no safety net. And there's a particular type of person who drives you up the wall. The one who's all talk, big launch announcement, huge promises, then silence. You roll your eyes every time. Fair enough, but sit with it honestly. How many projects have you announced in your head, told 2 friends about, and quietly let die? The all-talk person isn't your opposite. They're you with the volume turned up and the filter removed. You hate them because they're doing in public what you're terrified you do in private. That's the friction. Stay in it for a second, because this is where it gets useful instead of just uncomfortable. The reason this matters for someone building a life on their own terms is brutal and simple. The traits you refuse to admit are the ones you can't manage. You can only work with what you're willing to look at. And looking takes a container, some kind of daily prompt that asks the question before your brain finds the exit. Ponder. 1 stoic reflection per day. Link in the description. Has been that container for me. And the pattern it pulls up is almost always the one I'd rather skip. The greed you won't acknowledge runs your decisions from the basement, pricing your work too low because you're scared to look like the money-obsessed person you despise. The need for validation you pretend you don't have leaks out sideways, making you post for applause instead of building for results. What you exile doesn't go quiet. It goes underground and starts steering. A guy I know spent 2 years sneering at influencer types, the ones who film everything and chase attention. Couldn't stand them. Then he finally admitted out loud that he wanted to be seen too. That he wanted his work to reach people and was ashamed of wanting it. The day he stopped fighting that wanting, he started actually marketing what he made. The contempt had been a cage, and he built it himself. So what do you do with this? You learn to read your own disgust as data. The next time someone makes your jaw clench, before you reach for the verdict, you run one move. You assume it's a mirror first and a window second. You ask what this person is showing you about a part of yourself you've disowned. This is going to feel wrong at first, and I want to be straight with you about why. Sometimes a jerk is just a jerk. Some people are genuinely manipulative or cruel, and your disgust is a healthy alarm telling you to walk away. The mirror test doesn't erase that. So here's how you tell the difference. Real danger feels cold and clear. You assess the threat and you move. Projection feels hot and personal. It itches, it loops. You find yourself ranting about this person in the shower 3 days later. When the reaction is way out of proportion to the actual offense, that's you looking at something you buried. Run that test, and your most irritating relationships turn into a free diagnostic of your own hidden wiring. The people who annoy you become unpaid consultants on the parts of yourself you can't see directly. You can't observe your own blind spot, but you can watch what you react to and reverse engineer the shape of what's hiding there. Try it on the small stuff first. The friend who never shuts up about their gym progress. Do you secretly wish you had the discipline to obsess like that? The one who charges insane prices with zero shame? Are you furious because you undercharge out of fear? The flake who ghosts every commitment. Is there a part of you exhausted by all the things you've forced yourself to keep going? The trait you're judging is rarely the whole story. The intensity of the judgment is the clue. And notice what happens to your energy when you're locked in that judgment. You spend an afternoon mentally arguing with someone who has no idea you exist. You draft the reply you'll never send. You rehearse the takedown in the gym, on the walk, in the shower. That's hours of your one finite life burned, defending a border that only exists in your head. Every person you can't stand is renting space in your mind, and you're the one paying. The builder who gets ahead isn't the one with extra hours in the day. It's the one who stopped donating those hours to people who annoy them. Reclaiming that attention is the cheapest productivity hack nobody sells you, because there's no course in dropping a grudge you didn't know you were carrying. Now, flip it, because the same mirror works in the other direction, and almost nobody talks about this side. The traits you admire in others, the ones that make you a little jealous, are also yours. They're your unlived potential. When you see someone's audacity and feel that sharp, envious pull, that's you recognizing a capacity you haven't claimed yet. Envy and disgust are the same flashlight pointed at two different walls. One shows you what you've buried in shame, the other shows you what you've buried in fear. For you, this changes the entire game of building something. Because the version of you that wins is the one with the fewest hidden compartments. Every trait you've locked away is energy you're spending to keep the door shut. The ambition you call cringe when others show it. The desire for money you've labeled shallow. The hunger for recognition you've decided is needy. All of it is fuel, and you've been holding the tank closed because you were scared of what you'd look like with the engine running. Integration is the opposite of what you fear. When you admit the greedy part exists, you can finally aim it. Price your work right, negotiate without flinching. Build wealth on purpose. When you own the part that craves attention, you can market honestly instead of leaking neediness into everything you touch. A trait you've accepted becomes a tool you can pick up and put down. A trait you've exiled becomes a hand around your throat you can't even feel. Here's the move. Small enough to actually use this week. Pick one person who irritates you more than the situation deserves. Just one. Name the exact trait. Say it plainly. I can't stand how he's so desperate for approval. Then sit with the discomfort and finish the sentence honestly. And the part of me that wants approval is the part I've been pretending is dead. You don't have to like it. You just have to stop lying about it. That single admission does more for your growth than a year of self-help, because you can only build on a foundation you're willing to look at. The people who feel impossibly free, the ones who move through the world without flinching, aren't free because they have no shadow. They're free because they stopped pretending they don't. They've looked at the whole picture, the ambition and the envy and the hunger and the parts that aren't pretty, and they've said, fine, that's all me, and I get to decide what I do with it. That ownership is the actual freedom you're chasing when you say you want a life on your own terms. Freedom from the exhausting full-time job of hiding from yourself. So the next time someone disgusts you, don't look away and don't look down. Look closer. Ask what they're carrying in the open that you've been carrying in the dark. The traits you can't stand in them have been knocking from inside you the whole time, and every locked door is just leverage you haven't picked up yet. Stop guarding the basement. Go down there, turn on the light, and meet the parts of yourself you've been pointing at strangers your entire life. They were never the enemy. They were the inheritance you kept refusing to claim.